Hey, Pastor Ray Barnett here with you, and glad that you could be with me here again on the Oasis. And as always, I wish you a good morning, good afternoon, or a good evening, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. Once again, beautiful day here in upstate New York, but the humidity has come back with a vengeance. Hey, let me give you a little tip here, mostly for the ladies, I think, but men as well. If you ever want to know how humid it is, just find a man with a fairly good sized beard, watch how much it puffs out, and you're going to know the state of the humidity in the air. Some of you ladies that have the curly hair or the kind of frizzy hair, you know what I mean. There's just some days where no matter what I do with this beard of mine here, just can't really get it under control. Well, who cares? Hey, today I want to talk to you about something that has been down through the ages in Christianity, a little here, a little there, a movement known as Quietism and also pietism. Now, some would object to Quietism in particular being a method of prayer because it doesn't precisely fit the category of prayer as we read it, especially in the New Testament, Old Testament too. Yet there is, I believe, a basis for it when we read, and I gave this to you yesterday, Psalm 46:10, "Be still and know that I am God." Now, I'm not going to go through the precise history of Quietism and the debates over whether it is or is not a proper form of prayer, mostly by theologians or people who expound on the Bible. But I am going to suggest to you that it is a very good practice. You know, it's not uncommon for people with nervous symptoms, anxiety, and so forth, not so much depression, to talk a lot. Nervous people have a tendency to talk a lot. And Quietism is really just pretty much the opposite. I mean, and I've said this to you so many times, I think that it's helpful to find a spot like this. They're all over the world. I mean, there's parks and state parks and community parks and woods and rivers and everything else where you can just listen to nature. And you know, some people say, well, it brings them closer to God, and I would agree with that to a certain point. We need the Bible to fully understand God, because the Bible is not merely a collection of things that people observed in life. It is a revelation. In other words, the Bible contains many, many things, specifically prophecy, and also some principles of life that we would not have been able to know unless God had revealed them. So that's what He has done in the Bible. So back on the subject of Quietism, I think it's a very, very good practice for you to develop. Whereas you can, you don't have to be in a park setting. As you know, I pick these places to kind of help with the ambiance of the message or the exhortation. But I think Quietism, just being still, being quiet, which again can be done absolutely anywhere. Probably most conveniently can be done in your home. Just sitting in an easy chair. You could do it laying down too, and just be still. Don't talk. And in this case, and I say this with a little hesitancy, don't talk so much to God as much as listen. Quietism is more of a exercise in listening and then observing than it is in talking to God, which of course is probably the most practical and also biblical definition of prayer. Talking, asking, praising, being grateful, being thankful, which by the way we're told to do quite often in the Bible. give praise, give thanks, gratitude. But quietism is just being silent. I mean, some folks, especially during the movements of quietism and pietism, dedicated their whole life to silence and a sort of stillness, such as you would have in like the cloisters, monasteries, where they just dedicate themselves not to speaking at all. I am not advocating that for you, or well, for you in particular. But I am encouraging you to make being quiet and being still a practice in your life. You'll learn a lot by just being still. For instance, if you, like me, are a reader and you like to read, I love, of course, to read the Bible. That's been my main book for all my adult life. But I just like to read books, biographies in particular, history, other things. I read a lot. Most all of it is non-fiction. I don't read too much fiction. But you learn a lot, obviously, by reading. Readers are leaders, that's the saying. But you have to have time, just like your food, to digest it. You have to have time to be able to sort out in your mind what you've read, both in the Bible and in books. Quietism, though, is kind of a way of sorting out your thoughts. That's in a manner of speaking. And finding the calm, which, again, many people do find in nature, and I don't, again, disagree with them. There's a lot about God's nature, I mean, the physical nature, that elicits a kind of a calmness. People find it. I love the ocean. Love to sit down by the ocean. I'm not sure I'll get there this year, but be one of the few years that I didn't. But that's another story. Quietism, just being still and knowing, as the book says, I am God. Now think about that. Be still and know that I am God. I'm finding, as time is going on, I think that you are probably observing the same thing. We live in a world of a lot of noise and a lot of chatter. Even YouTube content and some creators just constantly talking, looking for a topic that's going to, again, elicit excitement, a lot of clickbait out there. I find myself being taken in by it every once in a while. Myself, some headline, and you click on it, it's misleading. It's not what you thought it was. The quietism helps you to just really settle your spirit and settle your soul. Now listen to the verse, Psalm 46:10. God here, through the author of the psalm, says that be still and know that I am God. For me, and I've mentioned this to you before, all of my life since I was very young, enjoyed just being still and just being quiet, contemplating. Biblical meditation, by the way, is not the same as other forms of meditation that are promoted by other religions and other people. Quietism, though, is a form of just being still. It's not talking, it's not even moving. It's just being still. And then God tells us in His Word, if you will be still, you will know that I am God. Now, I have found this, for me, to be very, very comforting and very much a relief from the stress of life, from the vicissitudes, the many changes that we have in life, is to find a place. I do it much in my own home. I'm not always getting in my car going someplace. I do that primarily for your benefit in these broadcasts. But just being still, just being quiet. Yesterday I was talking to you about placidity, just being, like the river was where I was yesterday, Mohawk River. It was very, very calm, very, very calm. And when you are able to practice quietism and you make it a routine, once, twice a day or more if you need it, depending on how much time you have and how much time you want to give to it. That's pretty much subjective. It's where you are comfortable. But I would suggest that you give it some time, because I mean, we rush through everything else. You can't really rush being still. I mean, they're antonyms. They're polar opposites. If you're rushing around, then you're not still and you're not quiet. If you're talking all the time, then obviously you're not quiet. But to be still, God promises, he says, you will know that I am God. And I will once again say to you, don't expect to go out or in your home and just, the first time you practice just being totally still, that, everything's going to come to you. It doesn't really work that way either. At least it hasn't worked that way for me. But I have found many, many answers to questions and to problems by just sitting and just, I guess I would say thinking. Many times, though, I do interject my prayer life, the talking to God and things I'm believing for and asking for to come into the quiet time. But I want to emphasize the fact that the Bible says, be still and know that I'm God. But God has a way of communicating to us in this area of stillness or quietism. And it would be a very good thing for you to develop as a habit. I mean, a daily habit. Again, it's up to you. You do it twice a day, you do it once a day, you do it in the evening, you do it in the morning and the evening. That's something that you can decide for yourself. I like to do it as frequently as I can. Just make my body still, which then makes my mind get still and quiet. And then that's when I not only learn, but I can mull over in my mind the things that I've read in the Bible, in books, and digest them so that it becomes a part of me. And this is what I always talk to you about. I was mentioning it yesterday also. This is when you initiate your training or practice. You keep practicing and training your mind to be still. I find myself sometimes in a place that's busy, and so many places on the earth today are very, very active, very busy. But you can put into your life the training that you have now in this area of just stillness and quietness. You could be moving around, you could be doing something, you could be active at work, your mind is still. This is pretty similar to what I was talking to you about yesterday, keeping the mind placid. So it's not a hard concept. We don't really need to, I don't need to spend hours and hours on it. It's not a difficult concept to understand. Quietism, just being still, and God promises that you will know. And again, I give you the caveat: you do it once, you said I didn't learn anything. Well, at least you got quiet. Don't expect it all to come at once, but as you put layer upon layer of stillness and quietness, you will learn, and you will definitely do a great service to yourself, for yourself, and then even for others. If you can develop an aura of calmness, this has a great effect on other people as well. Temper begets temper, and anger, same thing, begets anger, fear begets fear, and calmness will beget calmness. Not in everybody, because some people are just too hyper to learn. But it's again something I mentioned to you this week. Where you're doing yourself a service, and that would be chief, really. That would be primary. But you're actually creating an atmosphere for others too. Let me give you an example. You've all heard the expression, "Don't let him or her get your goat." Well, that comes from a real life situation where they would put a goat in with the, racehorses are very high strung. My German Shepherd is a very high strung dog. But I try to always provide an environment for him where, I'm still, and that causes him to be still. Well, with the racehorses, what they would do is they would put a goat in with the horse the night before a race, and that would keep the horse calm, so it's not so agitated. But what a competitor would do is sneak into the stall at night, and just take the goat out. So now the horse is hyped up. He's using energy which is going to take away from their ability to run quickly in the race. Don't let anybody get your goat. It's difficult, but if they do get your goat, you won't be able to run the race swiftly and efficiently. Quietism. Start to practice it. Start to do it and see what results you get. I would be interested in knowing in your comments, if you begin to practice this, and I hope that you do, just what type of an effect it has on your life. Let me pray for you today. So Father, I pray for my friends as I do always. And I ask you, God, today to give them that spirit of quietness, of just the sense of your peace. Because God, you are peace. And I ask you to touch each one today watching and listening. In Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so don't forget to practice. Whatever you're learning from this channel, it won't do you much good, just the information. You got to practice it. And Lord willing, I'll be with you here again tomorrow on the Oasis. And we'll see what God has planned for us tomorrow. All right. Take it one day at a time. If you want to be part of this ministry here, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, and then we're good to go. All right. That's it for today. God willing, like I said, God willing, I'll be with you here again tomorrow. And I truly pray for you. I really do, just like I say every day, that in the meantime, the peace of Christ will be with you. God bless until I see you again tomorrow, right here on the Oasis.